Hey everybody, welcome back. These next couple weeks, we're getting back to our roots here. What do I mean by that? Well, we have a former Delta Force operator coming on the show. It's going to be a two-part series broken up into 2 weeks. Super heavy. Ironically, this Delta guy produces and directs the show SEAL Team, which it's pretty funny considering he's an Army guy producing a show about Navy SEALs, but he does a phenomenal job at it. He's all over the film industry, also an actor. Guy's definitely a jack of all trades. And this episode goes super deep. I think y'all are going to get a lot out of it. We're recording history here. We're bringing hope to people. We are showing how you can overcome all of life's challenges. This guy's no different. Such a positive message with this one. Patreon, this is because of you guys. Thank you. Once again, it's your support that makes this show happen. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I love you. If you can't support us on Patreon, please head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify or both and leave us a review. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us who you'd like to see coming up on the show. A lot of good stuff coming. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome my friend Tyler Gray, former Delta operator, to the Shawn Ryan Show. Enjoy it. Love you all. See you next week.
This time to find myself. I don't know what I'm looking for.
Tyler, welcome to the Shawn Ryan Show, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great to finally be here.
It's an honor.
Oh, same.
I've been wanting to interview you for the longest time, and then somehow we got connected. Oh, yeah, we got connected through a comment
Oh, yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah, I think on another podcast, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. No, I'm it's funny how things start, how you, it's just, well, at least now it's just the littlest thing, and, see something like, I know who that is. I know that, I'll go do that.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the first podcast I've ever traveled for. So.
Oh, cool.
It's, it's, being in LA, I'm lucky that a lot of people come out there for other stuff and then set up and do multiple people. So I've been lucky that way. But I definitely, this is a lesson that I need to I need to travel. Well, at least I can now, so that works out. But great to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're going to go through your childhood, then we'll get into your military career. Let me give you a brief introduction. So, Army Ranger, Delta operator, actor, producer, director. My first question, how the hell does a Delta guy get out and then produce the show SEAL Team?
Sweet irony. It's funny you say that because there's a show called Echo 3 on Apple that's got some Delta guys, and it's advised by a SEAL.
No shit.
And then the movie Triple Frontier, which my buddies Kevin and Nate worked on, both SEALs, or former SEALs, it's about Delta guys, and they advise that. So it's, it's the, the executive producer, or he was a SEAL in Dev, and he had a book, and this show was kind of, not based on it, but derivative of that. The teams, or that team, I guess, specifically. And so I had been working in Hollywood for maybe 7 years at that time. Mostly on movies. I think I'd done a couple shows, but mostly movies, which is sporadic. A movie will, like Suicide Squad, I got a call and they're like, hey, can you leave in 4 days for 6 months? And that's how they go. And then you're there for 6 months, and then, you won't do another movie for 4 months. So I was actually bodyguarding. Bodyguarding was my waiter job.
Really?
In the Hollywood. Yeah, I was bodyguard for, I think, almost a decade. Yeah, I did every type of EP work there is. I mean, corporate, you name it, freaking music tours, everything. I don't think there's a category that I didn't check the block, whether intentionally or unintentionally. But I actually had a corporate gig that was a unicorn, but I done movies and stuff like that, and the other call, so 2 calls were made. One was to Marcus, who Capone, who I know as well, great guy, and he couldn't do it. I forget what he was doing, and then they called me, and because the EP, the SEAL, who's the EP, he had worked on the pilot, done everything with the writer, but he couldn't do the on-set stuff because of prior commitments, and he'd never done. Obviously, he knew the authentic component to make it real, obviously, but the way the film industry works, he had no experience in. So they called me, and I actually quit that job. And it was a pilot. I mean, there's the odds of a pilot getting picked up to a show are like 1 in 100. It's very rare. I just had a good feeling about it, so I quit that corporate EP gig. And again, I think it was like a Wednesday, and they wanted me to leave on Friday to go to New Orleans to shoot the pilot for 6 weeks. And so I quit and went out there, and it's. The thing I'll say about the show is it's a unique combination. We, on that show, have been able to do what we've done just because of a unique combination of factors. Like, are there a bunch of military people that, know tactics, gear? Oh, of course. But we just got a group of people that cared to listen. Is the very short way to say it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because look, if I tell you you've got those helmets, and again, I'm using gear as an example, you've got those. I'm going to say it this way. This will perfectly summarize what happened. So, and it's kind of a funny story. So again, making a pilot about Dead Group. So I show up. I get there in New Orleans. I think we had a week and a half of prep before filming started. And filming, by the way, again, I don't know how much you know, so excuse me if you already know this. Well, audience, someone will not know.
I've never been on a Hollywood set, so.
Okay, well, if you want, come on out, or now that COVID's over. But so basically, everything's shot out of order. It's all shot based on the logistics of the location. Story order means nothing. We have to go here, then we have to go here. So once you're there, you shoot all the scenes there. Once you go there, you shoot all the scenes there. It's just...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is for acting, and everything's out of order. So it's definitely difficult. Like Lord of the Rings, shooting 3 movies out of order. I act on camera. I don't know how those guys did it. Like, it boggles my mind. Like, you're shooting week 2... the characters knowing each other for 5 years.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how they track that in their head. But anyways, so I get there, week and a half till filming, and I'm like, all right, let's like what you got. You got all these departments. So I go look at the wardrobe and props. I'm not joking. Has like Black Hawk vest from like 2008 that like freaking, podunk SWAT team wouldn't be caught dead in. I was just like, like, okay, what do you got for, let's look at wardrobe. I like the uniforms. They got 2 uniforms. They got the blueberries, Navy uniform at the time.
Wow.
And then they had the blueberries and the, it's not AWAR2, but it's the green, guacamole avocados, whatever they call them. But again, the dress version, And I was just like, oh, shit. All right. I go to the producer or the line producer, and I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. You have nothing. Like, you have nothing. Like, we're filming in a week and a half, and you don't have anything. And he's like, what do you mean? We had props. And again, it's not the props and the wardrobe people. Wardrobe people were great. They do research, and unless like some airsoft forum, you're not finding current freaking dev group issued stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know, even with the internet, they don't know where to look. And you're not going to find it in a Google search. So they look up Navy uniform, blueberries, simple. Fucking order blueberries, or that camo pattern. So I was just like, oh man, yeah, you guys got nothing. All right, let me make some calls. And a guy that I know had been doing photo shoots for gear companies for quite some time, for like, I don't know, 8 years. And I'd, with them, deal was you go do the photo shoot like that, take some cool photos. You don't get paid, but they let you keep the gear, which, that's worth it for me if I can go right on. It was fun. So I knew what he had. So I called him up and I'm like, hey, dude. And again, how many people would do what I'm about to say? So I called him up. I'm like, hey, man, I'm working on this project. I need you. He was in LA. I'm like, I need you to fly to New York tomorrow. Box up all your stuff and overnight it to New Orleans. And he's like, oh, okay. Are they going to rent it from me? No. It's like, okay. All right, I'll hook you up. Are they going to pay for my flight? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay. I'm like, and I just told him, I'm like, dude, they don't know what they don't know. Like, they don't know that they have nothing. I know it. You know it, because I explained it to them. But I'm like, to them, we need military stuff. They got military stuff. They got uniforms, and they got, tactical vest. They're good to them. To us, we'd watch it and go, we'd laugh. And that is, by the way, why stuff is wrong all the time.
Damn.
Because it's that simple. We got military guys. Do we have military gear? Yep, we're good. They don't know what they don't know.
Gotcha.
And that's the fundamental thing. And so anyways, he shipped the gear. It came in. I mean, he had every Cry uniform in every freaking size, every Cry vest. Dude, he had a ton of AOR1 stuff. Like, oh, that was the other thing too, by the way. Before I called him, they're like, okay, well, you tell us what to buy and we'll buy it. I go, you can't. I'm like, A, the lead time on any of this stuff would be a couple months, and B, because they wanted AOR1 specifically at the time, and I'm like, literally, you can't buy it. So I was like, so anyways, he got all that stuff, and we used his gear for the entire first season.
Wow.
Yeah, and by the way, sorry, kind of to sum up that story, when I was like, no, they're not even going to pay for your flight, I was like, just just, I will figure out how to pay you back. I don't know how yet, but just trust me. How many people would buy a ticket, fly to New York? Like, how many people would do that?
Probably not very many.
Not very many. And what's funny about it is then 3 weeks later, planning this stunt to fast rope, we fast roped on the pilot, and they wanted someone to fast rope a dog, a Malinois. And some SWAT guy there was like, oh yeah, I can do it. So I was like, well, how many times has he fast roped? Oh no, he's done the tower. Sorry, what? Oh yeah, he said he's done the course and fast roping the tower. I'm like, so fast roping is done from a helicopter, it's a, no one deploys from a tower. But I was just like, dude, I don't care how many times he's done it out of a tower. Has he done it from a helicopter?
Yeah.
And again, could you go from a tower to helicopter? Yeah, I mean, we did at some point, but not with a dog, not with the live dog.
Yeah.
I'm like, hell no. If he hasn't fast rope live, I mean, he's not going to fast rope on camera with the dog for the first time. There's no way. Anyways, so that guy, Justin, had fast roped and had a Malinois. And because I'd done a lot of photo shoots with him, like I knew he could move tactically and everything. So I was like, I got a guy for you. And he is still on the show to this day.
No shit.
Yep. Justin Melnick, it's his Dita, Service is his dog Dita. Yeah, so kind of a funny, just how things work out. But that's how, again, we just, that kind of mechanism, we got the best armor in the business. Like our props guys listen, like they work with us, like, because the thing is, if you go in and you go, hey, you should have this over this, which one's less? This one.
Yeah.
There's conversations over, because they're not going to spend more money for authenticity. So it's about how do you keep the budget the same and get the right, or as close as you can get. So, yeah, we've been really lucky to be able to, do so many. I mean, is it a dramatic TV show? It's like I tell everyone. People are always like, oh, is it real? I'm like, we would literally be dead every episode 100 times. And our characters would probably be getting a Medal of Honor every other episode, if not every episode. I'm like, no, it's not realistic at all. But in tone, is it authentic? Does it feel authentic? And I think we definitely try hard to do that. And I think that's why the show has resonated with, it's one thing to resonate with civilians, but when the military, and I'm not going to say when the military doesn't hate a military show or movie, that's a fucking home run. And I told him that too, like first season, I'm like, if anyone in the military watches it and doesn't hate it, home run. They're like, well, what if they like it? I'm like, they're not going to like it. But if they don't hate it, I'm like, it's great. If there's not stuff where you're just watching it and getting so distracted by some dumb bullshit that somebody, messed up and, whatever. If you get the details right, people will focus on the story. If all the details are wrong, you'll just stop. You'll just tune out. In your head. So, it's been great.
That's awesome, man. Well, let's get into some more about you. Less about SEAL Team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everybody starts out with a gift.
Oh, I did not know that.
Everybody starts out with a gift. Any guesses?
The only thing I can think of right now is it's a Jack in a Box, and it's going to be a boxing glove and punch me in the face. Which, if you didn't do, you should definitely do at some point.
Noted.
Oh.
Those are gummy bears. Those are Vigilance League gummy bears. They're actually legal in all 50 states, so you can fly back home with them.
Are they actual gummy bears?
Yeah, they're actual gummy
Okay.
bears.
Because I was like, you said they're legal. Oh, you know what? I'm really glad you got. I was just looking at the hats down there, so that's awesome. Where did you come up with gummy bears from?
It's a long story, but I love candy, man.
Hey,
You know,
freaking.
everybody else is doing protein shakes and
No, I'm
everything
with
else.
you.
Figure,
Okay.
Hey,
You can
do
have
some
this. I'm
candy.
gonna give you an idea. Protein gummies. Done.
I like it. I like it.
There you go. You'll be the Sil Willy Wonka.
Well, let's talk about childhood. I listened to a couple of your podcasts. You didn't really go too into detail that I heard about childhood, but I can tell it was definitely a rough upbringing, it sounds like.
So,
Where'd you grow up?
Bakersfield, California.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I remember getting off the plane in Iraq and being like, looks like Bakersfield. Same heat, well, it's hotter there. But, here's the thing is, and we were talking about this earlier, not related to childhood, but you say, or you said, a rough childhood. I would not say that at all, because I know, plenty of people who's freaking, were beat every day, physically by their, or one or both parents. I did not have that upbringing. I know a guy who literally grew up in a motel and his mom was a prostitute. I did not have that upbringing. So I didn't have a rough childhood. I'll explain. That being said, there's a saying, and I think this is very apt, which is no one gets out of childhood unscathed. Everyone carries some form of trauma from childhood. Talk to a person that had the Leave It to Beaver childhood, and there's something in that messed them up, or that caused them trauma. And on that note, too, it's I actually went to this grief recovery institute. It's a great course, but their big thing is everyone grieves at the same level. And I'm not talking about grieving childhood, but in that if you shit from being overseas, like you lost buddies, blah, 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 or, whatever it is, and you're grieving that. And then you get to this thing and the woman next to you freaking had her kid die. You're like, oh, dude, I don't compare to that. You know what I mean? And their whole thing is, no. Everyone grieves at the same level. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no, like, oh, your grief is worse than mine, because everything is relative to you.
Yep.
Level 10, if the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my whole life is that, somebody said I was stupid once, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. That's my level 10. It's not a universal level 10, but that's mine. And I've learned that over time with anything, but especially childhood. So we all take certain traumas from that time period, and they're, I was just talking to you earlier about not comparing things, and here I am comparing things. But my childhood, I'll say it this way.
What were you into as a kid? What did you like to do?
My favorite thing in the entire world? Play guns.
Playing guns?
I'll show you a picture. I don't know if you've seen the picture of me on the cover. Actually, I'll show you a couple childhood photos that you'll laugh at. I don't even know if if you ever weave things in, but
we'll definitely weave them in right now.
I've been asked this before about why did you join the military, and actually, sorry, let me rephrase.
We're not there yet.
But you'll see, like, people will say, why did you choose to join the military? And my response is, I don't think I chose it. When I was a kid, like, it was so innate as a kid. Like it was never a choice for me. It was just, that's who I was. You know, like, dude, I'd wear full camouflage to school. Not like hunting camouflage, woodland, you know? And dude, I would like, as much as I could, you know, get my fake guns and go, you know, go play war, go play guns, whatever. I would try and do that every single day. That was my favorite thing in the absolute world. And again, I mean, I can't remember a time, like I can't remember anything before that. I mean, it's as far back as it goes. Ironically, my second favorite thing was watching movies. And, I mean, dude, I watched Star Wars. I literally broke the tape because we like recorded it off TV onto, you know, and I think it was 120, something like that. And it broke. I could have just, I guess, re-recorded it, but yeah, I was a movie fanatic. And, well, that's actually, there's a reason for that. So, I was a very strange kid. I was a very sensitive kid. Actually, sensitive might be the wrong word. I was hyper aware. I was hyper aware in ways I shouldn't have been. And I was completely unaware in ways all the other kids were.
Let's go into an example.
I mean, just I remember this so clearly. I don't know how old I was. Well, I know actually I was under 10 just because of the house that we were in at the time. But all the kids, you know, it was like nighttime and, you know, it's like, I don't know, 6 neighborhood kids. And, you know, like they had all this toilet paper and, you know, they were planning, like, you know, let's go toilet paper Old Man Johnson. I don't remember the person's name. Old Man Johnson's house, you know, tonight. That was like the plan. And then, you know, in the morning, the sprinklers will come on and it'll, you know, get into the, you know. And I just remember saying, like, I don't want to do that. Like, he'll have to clean it up. Like, that's sad. Like, I don't want him to have to clean up. You know, like, to me, I was just like, why would, like, I mean, he's not mean to us or, you know, there's, like, no justification for it. I was just kind of like, not that I thought we needed one or wanted one, but I just was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, it'd be sad the thought of him having to clean all that shit up in the morning. And they were just like what? You know, like, why are you... Like, they didn't understand why I was thinking about that, and I didn't go. And things happen like that a lot, where I was like, you know, uncool. You know, like, yeah. As a kid, I had a lot of adult thoughts. I had a lot of adult kind of perspectives.
Where do you think that stemmed from?
That's a good question.
Anyone who's been paying attention is worried about when the US dollar is going to collapse. And for good reason. If you haven't been paying attention, I'm going to give you a couple things to look up here. One, you should look up how many banks have failed in the US just within the past couple months. And when I mean failed, I mean money just gone. Gone. Check your checking account, savings account, nothing. Gone. If you haven't been paying attention to that, maybe you've been paying attention to BRICS. What's BRICS? BRICS is the alliance between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and they are actively trying to devalue the US dollar. If you don't believe me, look it up. They're actually doing a phenomenal job at devaluing the dollar and recruiting more countries into that alliance. And if you haven't been paying attention to that, maybe you've been paying attention to the digital currency stuff, where they're talking about moving from the US dollar to a digital currency. What does that look like? Nobody really knows. Is it going to be a one-for-one swap? I don't know. Here's what I do know. Everything you buy and sell with digital currency will be tracked and traced by the U.S. government. Not everybody wants that. Some people enjoy a little privacy. So, what's the solution here? The solution might be diversification into precious metals, gold and silver. Call my friends at Lear Capital or go to learshawn.com. When you call, they're going to educate you on all the different scenarios that you can diversify your portfolio, your finances into. Look, they can roll your 401k into precious metals. They can roll in your IRAs into precious metals. You can buy physical gold and silver to have on hand if you'd like. Just call them. They're there to educate you, give you all the information that you need to properly invest into the precious metals market. There are a lot of gold companies out there to choose from. You may want to look at Lear Capital. They're trustworthy. Take action now to protect your financial future and your freedom. Call Lear at 800-741-0551 or go to learshawn.com, and my viewers receive up to $15,000 in free bonus metals with a qualified purchase. Once again, call 800-741-0551 or go to learshawn.com. Information contained within Lear Capital's website is for general educational purposes and is not investment, tax, or legal advice. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision. I want to tell you all about this new meat delivery service I found called Moink. What I really like about Moink is they are from a small, rural farm town in Missouri, LaBelle, Missouri, right by where I grew up, and I love supporting small town business USA. Now, when I started looking into Moink, they educated me on the meat industry, and I want to share with you all a couple of facts, according to Moinked magazine. 60% of all pork is produced by one company in the U.S., and that is 100% owned by the Chinese. 4 companies control over 80% of the meat industry in the United States. More than 10,000 different additives are allowed in the U.S. food supply. 99% of chicken, 95% of hogs, 78% of cattle in the U.S. are raised in confinement buildings or feedlots. That means they're not moving around freely. 80% of the antibiotics consumed in the U.S. are fed to animals. Here's a stat. In 2016, 18.4 million pounds of antibiotics were sold for livestock. And that's what you're eating. Suicide rates amongst farmers are the highest than any other profession, and that includes veterans, believe it or not. I found that alarming. Now, here's what Moink is doing to combat some of this stuff, which I really appreciate. Their livestock is 100% born and raised and harvested humanely in the United States of America. Their farms practice regenerative agricultural methods. They are free of GMOs, antibiotics, and all hormones. Their Alaska salmon is wild caught. Their beef and lamb are grass-fed and grass-finished. Their boxes ship from rural America, right in small-town Missouri. Love it. Their chicken and pork are pasture-raised. So, guys, check them out. Moink. Keep America farming going by signing up at moinkbox.com/SRS. Right now, listeners on this show get free bacon in your first box. It will be the best bacon you will ever taste, but it's only for a limited time. It's spelled Moink, MOINK, box.com/SRS. That's moinkbox.com/SRS.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, what were kids aware of that you weren't aware of?
I mean, socializing. Like, I was terrified of girls. Like, I had no
confidence.
They were like aliens. Like, I grew up with a brother, no sister. I never, I just like, I just I didn't get it, like, at all, First,
Were you attracted to women?
oh yeah, I mean, dude, like, when I was a kid, like, my type, I knew from a very early age was, Wonder Woman. I was like, but, yeah, I was like, that was Baywatch before Baywatch, what I'm saying, the opening of Wonder Woman. But I just was like, I just didn't, God, I think my first one, I don't think I actually, like, initiated something with a girl until I was probably in high school. Thinking about it. Like, the first girlfriend I ever had was in the 4th grade, and she asked me out, literally with a letter that said, like, do you like me? Check yes or no. Like, it was that. Second, like, and I'm saying girlfriend, but they're like elementary school, relationships. But, and the second girl, like, fucking grabbed my hand during, Belinda Carlisle, Heaven on Earth at the couple skate. She grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the skate. I mean, they both initiated something, I didn't. And it was two things. A, I just had no awareness of, like, I just had very low social awareness. I didn't know how to talk to girls. I just, and I'm going to use the word game, but I just didn't understand, like, the social aspect of, I mean, I had no problem making friends, but far as, like, kind of socializing with the opposite sex, no concept.
Completely foreign.
What's that?
Completely foreign to you.
Yes, absolutely. And on top of that, I really didn't, in hindsight now, obviously I didn't know this then, but the other thing was, I mean, dude, I was tall. I mean, I was lanky because I was a kid, but I was tall. I mean, I wasn't a bad looking kid at all. I was probably a good looking kid, but in my head, I was shit. And so, if you're shit, what are you going to offer a girl?
Why do you think that you thought you looked like shit?
It wasn't that I thought I looked like shit. I thought I was shit. So
you thought
what
you
happened?
Were shit, literally.
Well, not literally, but figurative shit.
Yeah.
No, so what happened to me was when I was 3. So my dad was an alcoholic, still is to this day. How I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know how he's still alive. I know how he's still an alcoholic. I don't know how he's still alive. I mean, I've led a risky life, and he's been worse than I am because I'm only half him. Somehow he's still alive. Alcoholic his whole life. And so, like, I spent no time with my father. None. He would go to work, go to the bar, come home, pass out. I never, I mean, I can remember, I could count probably on one hand the times of, like, bonding time, with him. He was a mechanic, heavy equipment mechanic, worked on, like, Caterpillar and John Deere, things like that. And so my brother was born when I was 3. And I mean, this is 80. He was, born in 80. I mean, he had, as severe of ADD, ADHD, freaking, you name it. Like, he was allergic to everything. I mean, I love my brother, but growing up with him was a nightmare. Like, he would just wake up and scream nonstop for 30 minutes. And I'm not talking about when he was a baby. I'm talking when he was like 10. So anyways, the short version on that is that, my dad was an alcoholic, so my parents constantly fought. Again, not a unique story. Once my brother was born, he, you talk about an alcoholic and a codependent, they're going to fight just in general. Now take, a child that is just in ways impossible to raise. I mean, my brother literally stopped going to school in junior high school. Like, they couldn't get him to go to school. It's like, it was just one thing, special schools, you name it. He had everything. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to sound like an asshole, but it's what my mom always tells me, so I'll repeat it. But, she was like, you were like the perfect kid in that I never caused any problems ever. I was a sensitive kid. I was a nice kid. Like, I never got into trouble. I just didn't do anything wrong. And I was easy, I spent a lot of time by myself, which is a very important piece. Because my parents all fought all the time. As soon as they started fighting, I'd leave the house and go, and I had imaginary friends, and,
You had imaginary friends?
Yeah, 2, Gage and DeSoto. Yeah. Which are actually both from both those names are from the show Emergency. But yeah, Gage and DeSoto were my homies. And we'd go and hang, chill.
What would you guys do?
Playing guns was hard with them because they were really good. I could never find them. That was pretty dry. I should have made that more obvious. Sorry. I actually, it's funny because I've learned this with my girlfriend. English is her second language, and I'll like give sarcasm, but I'll give it so dry that it doesn't register as sarcasm.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be like my sarcasm it's sarcasm, but it's actually really offensive. But then I go so dry with it, she just gets like I said, something really offensive. So
I do that too.
Oh, dude, I'm working on that, man. It's hard. But I think it's funnier the more dry it is. So anyways, and now I would go imagine stories. I would imagine adventures. So we'd go on adventures, and I would just make shit up.
How old are you at this point?
Oh, God, I did that from probably 4 or 5 till definitely till we moved. So 4 or 5 till about 11. I'll kind of mention that along with something else. I was, like I said, I was uncool in the sense that, all the bad boy stuff I just had no interest in, it wasn't interesting to me. So, I was put in the uncool category, and that was a big issue for me, which was, like the kids, I just so happened to, the cul-de-sac I lived on had like 2 of the coolest kids in school happened to live like, 3 doors down and across the street, just by chance. So we were like friends because, we were together all the time, but also not, because, but, I would, they'd go do stuff all the time. Like if I hung out with either one of them, everything was cool. We had fun, blah, blah, blah. But if it was both of them and me, it was shit on me time, That's just how it was. And I get it, And then a lot of times, they'd go do stuff and wouldn't take me. And, I just remember, feeling, word's not abandoned, but lonely, feeling lonely. And then I'm sure one of those instances is where I, made up the friends from. But
I'm picturing you at a very specific lunch table.
Trying to think of the cafeteria. I haven't thought of that cafeteria in a long time. I don't even remember where the hell I ate, actually.
There's all the cliques, and then there's the one lunch table where nobody really fits in with anybody.
Yeah.
And that was you.
I can tell you that it was... super remember elementary school, but 100% that was being high school. Like, I mean, I was, at one point, I hung out with every group you can hang out with in high school. I don't think I hung out with the goth kids, but, you know, I was athletic, so I played football and soccer, you know, like every group at one point I hung out with, but I was never that definitive, like,
You never made the connection.
well, yeah, because I was, you know, kind of interested in some of the things, but that wasn't like 100% me. So like I would just jump groups. I never had like a clique that I really felt that I fit in. But the other thing, going back to your original question, of where do I think that came from? I do know this. So when my parents would fight, you know, dad, mom, and I remember doing this again, I mean, no older than starting at 5, I would get in the middle of them and I would listen to them. And then I would listen to what my dad said, this is what my mom said. And then I would try and logically explain, no, dad, what mom is really saying is, So I was like getting in the middle, trying to like translate like a therapist.
Wow, you were doing that at 5 years old?
Like really, really young. Yeah. And I did it, probably until, in high school, probably I stopped caring because I could leave the house. But definitely for at least, 8 years, something like that. But what I got from that is it gave me the ability to, I had to listen to what they were, I had to hear what they were saying, but I had to listen for what they were really saying. And I say this all the time, like, you may know something, but if you can't explain it, you don't really know it, And so I had to really kind of pick the logic pieces out to then explain it to the other parent. And that was I think everything is to a degree nature and nurture. I don't think anything is, one or the other definitively. But that was definitely a skill I picked up is kind of understand, being able to interpret just how to explain the logic of something, and not kind of get tied down in the, abstract, non-linear details. Like when you tell a story, there are important points and the other things are just kind of filler. But there's beats that you have to hit to really tell the story or to convey a message. And I definitely learned that from that.
We're skipping way forward than I would like to at this point, but growing up like that, you felt a sense of abandonment. You didn't really fit in with anybody. Do you think that, and you wound up being this ultra successful, maybe you don't consider yourself that, I don't know, but from the outside looking in, you became an Army Ranger, you went to Delta, you became an actor, became a producer, became a director, pretty substantial businessman. What do you think that those insecurities as a child is what drove you to become that successful in life?
I mean, it's a funny,
because you couldn't find acceptance as a kid. And so, it drives a lot of people.
The short answer to your question is, I think to a degree, yes. To a large degree, yes. And, I say that because, my thing has always been like, and I said it then, like, doubt me. Like, if I want to accomplish something, like if somebody doubts that I'll do something, that's what I'm going to put all my energy to, and I'm going to do it. And that applies to myself too. I am by far my own worst, I wouldn't even say critic, I'd say own worst enemy to a degree. I mean, but I'll give you an example. I worked with an absolute freaking movie star. I won't say who it is, but a movie star, like A-list movie star. World on a string. And that person absolutely struggles with massive insecurity. By all external things, it's ludicrous. It's like, dude, doesn't make any sense. But it makes absolute sense because that was established in childhood. And, I have a saying that, and I learned this recently, but it's like, there was things that affected me in childhood that I, later in life, it's like okay, someone made me feel that way, so I felt that way. And now I know that's not true about me. I know it's not true. And I've known for a long time it's not true. But then when I really looked at it, I realized that, okay, yeah, I knew it, but I was still doing actions as if I didn't know it. And what I figured out was, consciously I knew it, but subconsciously I'd still not accepted it. There's a huge difference between knowing and accepting something. And I can honestly say today, there's still a bunch of things I know, but I'm working on accepting because it's hard.
Do you have an example of one?
I mean, being worth something. I mean, I know I'm worth something.
But you haven't accepted that.
I'm trying. It's just, you're undoing, decades of subconscious programming.
How long have you known that you're worth something?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd say probably recently.
That's a recent discovery?
Probably 2 years.
Jesus. That's tough.
Well, I mean, to be fair, consciously, I didn't know that. Subconsciously, I didn't think I was worth anything. I had to look at my behaviors and then realize, self-sabotage. I mean, I knew I was fucking Olympic gold medal sabotage, self-saboteur. No one can hold a candle. I'll fucking, you want to self-sabotage? Watch this. You pull a grenade, I'm going to pull a fucking nuke. And I've self-sabotaged a lot of shit. But again, until you really dive in, I didn't really know why I was doing that. And the why is because if good things are happening to me, if I get in a good relationship, but I subconsciously, fundamentally think that I'm worthless, then I have to sabotage it because I don't deserve it.
Damn. That's some heavy shit.
And I mean, over and over and over and over. And the weird thing is, what's strange to me, I was just having this conversation with someone else. I can't remember who, but... Oh, actually, I do remember who. But it's crazy to me that at the same time of having this fundamental lack of self-worth, it's pushed me to do things because... So here's a good example. If you have no self-worth, fundamentally as a person, how do you get worth? If you have none in your head, in a room by yourself, if you have no self-worth, how do you get self-worth? Well, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, simple. I mean, there's many ways. Get money. Now everyone sees the money and they go, oh, that worth translates to you. Get fame. That's external, worthiness, that you're building up external value to where people can look at the things that you have and go, oh, they must be awesome. A girlfriend. I mean, I will fully admit that I would choose relationships that were not good for me because the girl was super attractive. And now, knowing what I know, that attractiveness was a trophy to give me self-worth in other people's eyes.
What led you to find this discovery? I mean, how did you...
That one specifically?
Yeah.
A lot of failed relationships.
Well, not that specifically, and what gave you the epiphany that you know that you're worth something now? 'Cause I think a lot of people struggle with this, myself included. And none of the other shit that you're talking about, the money, the fame, and none of the trophies, the cars, the house, none of that shit fucking works. That's why when you're talking about A-list actors and actresses, it doesn't matter what the fuck you have. If you don't internally know that you're worth something, then you always have that fucking feeling of worthlessness.
Absolutely, and there's an example, because everyone knows this person. There's an example, the opposite of what you just said, which is that person everyone's met in their life who is level 10 confident for no fucking reason at all. Everyone knows that person, and you're like, but you have no job, you're like thinking of like, what's it based on? Like you have nothing yet, their confidence is sky high. You can talk anyone into anything. And like everyone knows in their lifetime at some point, that person that you're just like, what's your confidence based on? And now I know self-worth. That's it. For me, I mean, quite honestly, and again, I mean, not to, but the first thing was I had to obviously realize that I didn't have self-worth. You can't fix a problem, obviously, that you don't know is there. And it took a long time before I realized what the actual problem is. And I would personally, I feel like, especially with veterans, especially, I think so many of the things that are talked about and all these things, PTSD, but all this stuff, personally, my feeling, I feel like a lot of it's symptoms. And I think the diseases were almost all formed in childhood.
Yeah.
Like self-confidence, I think self-confidence or self-worth is a massive issue. And again, make a statement, for most veterans that I've come into contact with. But it's not, you don't go to a psych and they go, so let's talk about your self-worth issue. What happened in combat that made you sad? They start talking about fucking stupid shit that, I mean, it's not stupid, but you know what I mean? It's
not the root.
It's not the root, It's not the root. And the root is, I didn't go to college. Like, I have no formal education. I don't know how I graduated high school, to be honest with you. I hate school. I can't do it. But I can see what's self-evident. And again, going back to the parents, like, that, all right, 2 + 2 + 2 equals, it's you meet enough people that have the same problem and you start to put together patterns. But once I figured out that self-worth was a major issue for me, then I was like, all right, well, how do I go about fixing it? And the short answer is it's really just about, and again, there's there's probably 1,000 books made on this subject, but it's really just about reprogramming your subconscious. And the reason I say that is because how did it get programmed in the first place? You know, probably by words or actions, but you know what I mean? It's not like, it wasn't more than just words or actions. So I think because of that, it's relatively logical to say that it can be reprogrammed from words and actions.
So is that what you did? You reprogrammed, or did you? Was there something that?
No,
happened,
I'm still reprogramming. And actually that's a critical point. At what years does that develop? Blah blah blah. I don't know. How long does it develop over? I don't know. But I can tell you that at this point, knowing what I know, I don't think something like that is I don't think it's a fix. I think it's maintenance.
How many people depend on you? Do you have any idea?
I don't think anyone really.
Nobody?
Like,
You're the fucking producer of SEAL Team.
oh,
You're a director of SEAL Team.
Well, that's work. I mean,
That's your life. How
yeah,
many people
but,
depend on you?
I mean, sometimes, yeah.
Your business partner. Does he depend on you?
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I came to the realization for that made me realize, holy shit, I am worth something. I got married. My wife depends on me. My son depends on me. My employees, I built a business. My employees depend on me. People that watch this show, they get help. Like this segment right here is going to help a lot of people depend on this. And once I realized, holy shit, people actually fucking depend on me for their liveliness, you know, then I started to realize maybe I am worth something. If people depend on me for the livelihood, then you're fucking worth something.
No, I mean, I've never thought of it that way. It makes total sense. Yeah, I haven't thought of it that way, but like I said, the thoughts and actions is the reprogramming, you know? So I always think, I love this movie, and I always think of it, it's, you know, it's Good Will Hunting. He's like, you know, it's not your fault. Shut up. You know, it's not your fault. Stop bullshit, man. You know, and then he keeps going. It's not your fault. Don't be fucking with me, man. You know, and it finally breaks him. It's such a good scene because that's all it is. He says the same fucking words over and over and over again. And they fucking mean nothing until they start to mean something. And all the difference in that is knocking down the walls in his own head of his own worth. That's it. That's all that scene's about.
I think a lot of guys in the military also, I do believe you're correct, that a lot of it does come from childhood, but I think that self-worth, again, going back to dependency, when you're in the military, especially when you're operating at that high of a level, you know, like you were, you never see the people that are depending on you, ever. You see your team, they depend on you, but that's all replaceable.
Yeah, and it's so easy to see as something else in a military context, you know?
But then you get out, or you keep doing that job for these people that depend on you doing that job, which is 350 million Americans, you know, plus all the other people in the world, Europe, you know, that we fight for. And you never see that. You never see all the people that depend on you. And then when you leave, you never get that appreciation for doing what you did, or it doesn't measure up. And do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, well, you know,
I mean, you come home to a fucking broken VA, nobody gives a shit. You know, yeah, they can say thank you for your service, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? It's great. A lot of people do care, but you don't get the sense of appreciation. And all you see is all the negative shit, like the VA, like the fucking phony ass nonprofits that are out there saying that they support veterans and then they don't support shit. Maybe they send a veteran to go do a fucking hunt once a year and then, but anyways, I don't want to get into that. And I guess what I'm getting at is a lot of veterans don't see how many people depended on what they were doing, and it's a whole country that's dependent on it.
I mean, just thinking about what you're saying, I mean, I know for myself, even if somebody said something, thank you for your service, or, when my arm was fresh, I mean, dude, it was obvious. Now a lot of people don't notice now, but first couple of years, I get asked about it daily. And I'd lie, I'd say, which is not a lie. I'd say, oh, it was a workplace accident.
No.
So not details, but, unless I was just in a certain mood, then, or at a strip club, then I would say it was a shark bite, surfing off the Gold Coast of Australia. And it works. But, people would, or thank you for your service, or any kind of those things. And my reaction was always, it made me feel very uncomfortable. Because of those self-worth, issues. And, to me, I did it for selfish reasons of what I, wanted. And so I never really put it into the context of people depending on you. It just always made me feel, I guess, bad, quite frankly, is the word I'm looking for. But, it's interesting to spin it that way. And then with the military overall, like, I mean, again, I'm going to say what things that I feel or things that they are for me, whether that applies to anyone in the audience. If it fits, great. If not, great. But I can say for myself, I think I developed a feeling of, like I can honestly say, and I'll not go into super detail on the story. Oh, fuck it. I'll tell this story. So there was where was I? Baghdad? Yeah, Baghdad, I think. Anyways, bunch of dudes got shot, like, I don't know, like 13 or 14 dudes. And at the time I had the camera, so I would go around and take the photos of them. And I mean, and by the way, just to note it, I mean, these guys were real pieces of shit. All of them suicide bombers. Every one of them about to blow themselves up within the next week. But anyways, so one guy was in the kitchen and he had dragged himself from the living room, and I don't know how many times he was shot, but I saw him, and he was making obviously blood in his chest, definitely had chest wounds. And just based on the noises he was making, I was like, he's going to die like pretty quickly. And so I went down to take his picture, and I took his picture, and I was pretty close, he was laying on the ground. And then I just was like, I'm just gonna watch him. I was probably a foot from his face. And then he died. And there was nothing.
No emotion?
Nothing. Still to this day. I've never felt bad about it. I didn't care then. And I was kind of like,
were you expecting to feel something?
To be perfectly honest with you, I was hoping that I would feel something.
Is that why you did it? Is that why you watched him?
I didn't know that at the time. In hindsight, I think yes. Didn't know that at the time. But there was just nothing. And what I've learned, the reason I tell that story is because I learned something about myself. And that was, like I said, I was a sensitive kid. I was nice. I was too nice, quite frankly. An example would be picking up on girls. Nice doesn't work. Anyone who says it does is a fucking liar. Nice doesn't work. Be nice to girls and they'll like you. No, they won't. All my shithead, friends, were freaking, had girlfriends everywhere. And I treated a girl well and she's like, he's a great friend. I friend zoned the shit out of myself. Again, I was a friend zone Olympic gold medalist. But I was that kid. I was just a nice, sensitive kid. And at a certain point, though, I developed this, it's a statistic that special operations have all the characteristics of criminals, sociopaths, except for a couple. Well, this is definitely a sociopathic trait, which is once I put you in the you're a fundamental piece of shit category, once you're there, I fucking burn your house down. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I realized later that there is a unique circumstance, I'll call it, which I didn't put together until, I don't know, years later. And that is, as a kid, my childhood, I wasn't super mistreated. I was just left on my own. I raised myself. As my mom says it now, and she calls me, message me all the time. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, Mom, I'm over it. It's cool. But because I was the easy kid to deal with, she just, well, that one's good. And so I just didn't really, I think the only thing I learned from my dad was to not be a mechanic or alcoholic. That's about it. And so I was just I wasn't encouraged or discouraged. I was just on my own. And so when I joined, when I was a kid, before I joined the military, I used to have dreams. And again, I'm assuming this is not normal, but I'd have dreams as a kid of being somewhere and saving people and dying. I'd have that dream all the time. And I used the word dream because it was a dream. It wasn't a nightmare. I wanted that. Later in life, I was like, I was fucked up. Now I look at it, and again, my kind of concept was, now, again, I could watch, certain things happen, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens probably blocks from here, But the one thing that I will go, I do not tolerate at all and will drive me crazy is stuff with kids.
Yeah.
You fuck with kids, I'll fucking burn your house down. And why? I think I joined in a fucked up sense. I think I joined to try and save versions of myself.
Really?
In my head, I think that's because I always saw it as and granted, when I was a kid, I loved knights. I played Dungeons and Dragons, not shockingly. And I just saw it as I wanted to be a knight, which had a code of honor, but who also fought to protect those who couldn't fight for themselves. I mean, I really believed in that. And now, knowing what I know, you know, those suicide bombers, I mean, especially at the time in Baghdad, dude, they're blowing up a shitload of Iraqi kids. I didn't give a fuck. You want to blow up your own kid? I don't care. You know, getting, you know, American, Iraqi kids are kids. Like, you're going to go blow up kids? Like, I'm not even going to blink an eye when you die. I don't give a single, not even a hint of, oh, in a universal sense of human beings, that's sad. No, don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and the way I also saw it is, and again, hey, is this justification? I'm sure it is. No, actually, I don't think it is. I don't think sociopaths need justification. And I'm not a sociopath, which is actually another funny story, because I was talking to my therapist one day, and I was like, I was watching all these, I was watching a lot of murder porn, which if you've never seen the murder porn episode of South Park, that's going to sound really weird. But watch the murder porn episode of South Park and it'll be less weird. But basically murder porn, they make a joke about all the, you know, serial killer documentaries and every murder porn, because people like watching it so much, you know, like me. And I had just watched probably too many, you know, and I like was identifying with certain traits. And I called my therapist. I'm like, I think I'm a sociopath. She goes, Tyler, the fact that you're worried that you're a sociopath means you're not a sociopath. And I was like, that's fair. I'm like, okay, good. You got me. All right. Sorry. Talk to you later. But it's one of those things where, you know, I definitely just think the way I saw it is, I don't care why you're doing that. Like, if you want to blow up kids, I don't care what your cause is. It doesn't matter. I don't care if right, wrong, none of that shit matters to me. The fact is, the way I view you is you're a malfunctioning robot and you just need to go away. You're not fixable, and some people are just malfunctioning robots.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I definitely think as a kid, I just developed the feeling of like, still this day, like, dude, if I see a kid even alone, that fucks me up. Like, that'll make me really sad. Yeah. To the point, sad, quite honestly, I kind of have to avoid certain things because it's everywhere, and I'll just get trapped in that negative mindset.
Yeah.
But like, dude, I mean, I was alone all the time. Now, what did I get out of it? Definitely a prolific imagination. I mean, I have a great imagination, which I didn't know that. I didn't know my imagination was unique until, again, like maybe 3 years ago. Like, you know, creating story, just making you know, like, I didn't know that not everyone can do that at you know, the same, like, yeah, on the spot.
A lot of self-discovery 2-3 years ago, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went to an inpatient therapy place for 60 days, Warrior's Heart. And I mean, it was, you know, well, I'll say this. You are never, in my opinion, going to therapy once a week is like paying the minimum on your credit cards. You're never going to get out of debt because you're just paying the interest. If you talk to a therapist every week, you're going to talk about the shit that happened that week. You need to go deep and you need to commit an amount of time and go all the way back to the beginning and figure it out forward. And that's what I did. 60 days doing nothing but, I mean, I don't mean literal therapy as in like, with just talking, but I mean therapy as in all day long, just working on yourself, classes. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff, but, yeah, I mean, it changed my life. No question. No
Interesting.
question. Yeah.
You're the second person I know that's gone through that.
What's that?
You're the second person I know that's gone through that program. I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, it's great. That being said, it's like anything. You get out of it what you put into it, You really have to, you have to, I would say most progress, again, make a blatant statement, but most progress in yourself as a person is dependent on both the destruction of your ego, but at the same time, well, I guess it's also part of destructing your ego, but is accepting responsibility for everything. Like, I'm responsible for everything that's ever happened to me. Everything. Have to be. Because if I'm not responsible for every negative thing that's ever happened to me, then I can't be responsible for every positive thing that's ever happened to me either. And if I'm not responsible and somebody else is responsible, negative or positive, well, negative specifically, then it's on them. They have the power to fix it. I don't.
So let's dissect this a little bit.
Yeah.
So when a negative thing happens to you, do you dissect it enough to find your mistake?
Yep.
Every single time?
Well, yes, but I'll just change one word. It's not always a mistake. It's a mistake in hindsight. Doesn't mean it was a mistake at the time.
Okay.
And that's where responsibility comes in.
So you go back on a chain of events and find
You're
the
always-
link, whether it's a good link, whether it's a bad link. This is what triggered this reaction to happen, or this action.
Let's say I went out at 11 p.m. here in Nashville. Let's say I left my hotel at 2 in the morning, whatever. I left the hotel at 2 in the morning because I was hungry and walked down the street and somebody robbed me. Now, most people would say you were 100% victim of robbery. And they're not wrong. The problem is that if I'm 100% victim, I'll never be able to fix that because it's on the robber to fix me. And I don't know who they are. I'll never see them again. You know what I mean? So, and again, I've said this before, and people are like, you're victim blaming. And I'm like, you don't understand what I'm talking about. So my responsibility is, and yeah, I'm not saying it was wrong, but my responsibility is I decided to go out at that time and do that. That was my choice. Now, would it make a difference if it was 2 p.m? No. Because neither are wrong. Just because I go out at 2 a.m, yeah, maybe it's more likely you're going to get robbed, but we live in a free society. Like, that shouldn't mean anything. I'm not more or less responsible because it happened at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. The simple fact is, I chose to go out. I chose to walk that route. And then I go, it happened because I put myself there at that time. And then you go, all right. Yeah, shit happens. You don't control the world.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go, all right. Because you have taken the responsibility for it. And that's empowering. If I go, no, I'm a victim, man. I'm a victim. You'll always be a victim.
I'm totally with you, and I'm super excited that we're having this conversation because I do the exact same thing. I phrase it differently, maybe, but when I wind up in a shitty situation or something that I'm not happy about, I don't sit there and initially I do. Initially I get pissed off.
Who doesn't?
And I'm like, I got fucked over.
It's how we're designed, I believe. Yeah.
But then I'm constantly trying to learn from those positions. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're not mistakes. Maybe they are mistakes. But I always want to know, okay, how did I wind up in this position? Or how did I wind up in this position again and again and again? And so, you know, I'm constantly dissecting how I'm in this position. How did I wind up here, good or bad? You know, and you're right. It is very empowering, and you learn a lot from looking inward, and you learn so much from looking inward. And when you quit blaming everybody, and you go, all right, how the fuck did I wind up in this position? And you start retracing steps and dissecting every little move that you made, and then you find it. If I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't be in the position I'm at right now. I'm never gonna fucking do that again.
And this doesn't work with the robbery analogy, but like, if you never look through and do that self-awareness, if you never do that, you're never going to change the behavior because you're not seeing it. You're blaming everyone else. And I'll give you a perfect thing that I just realized. So my current girlfriend basically had a conversation with me, and it was not negative at all. It was actually shockingly, she's a unicorn, but she told me some things, and it just made me think. Like the next day I thought about it all day, and here's the conclusion. I mean, through a whole, maybe it was a couple days, but it was like a whole process of self-awareness. And then I came to a conclusion that blew my mind. So I have a girlfriend now, but my last two girlfriends both cheated on me. So they both cheated on me. One left me for the person that they cheated on with, and then the other tried, and it didn't work out because she was still seeing me anyways. But that messed me up. Well, why did it mess me up? Simple. I'll tell you exactly why it messed me up. And I mean really messed me up. Because it reinforced my childhood belief that I wasn't worth anything. Also reinforced childhood belief that the other kids didn't want to hang out with me. They chose other people to go on to the water slides. So I'm like this victim I hated my ex for 7 years. Hated her. Because she cheated on me, and then, she left with this dude. Hated her. And it didn't go away. I had nightmares about it. Dude, and I said this, I've said it before, and I kind of started my therapy stuff with it when I was at Warrior's Heart. I was like, look, getting blown up, all the military shit, don't care. I'm like, my girlfriend cheating on me, that broke my brain. Now I know why. It's because none of the stuff that happened, this happening to me had nothing to, it didn't tie into a negative core belief of me as a kid. Girls cheating on me did. So that's what messed up my brain.
Interesting.
So, years, I am having nightmares. 7 years, I'm having nightmares about my ex.
For 7 years?
Yes, and that, yeah, which, I mean, look, 2-3 years into it, I'm like, okay, we were together for almost 10 years. So, a couple, 2-3 years, I was like, all right, this is normal, it'll go away. 7 years, and I was with somebody else at this time, and still it hadn't gone away. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is not normal. So then I did some therapy stuff, and it's just still nothing worked. And finally, I mean, this is only, 6 months, 7-8 months ago. I was just like, actually what happened was that new relationship I had Again, she cheated, left. So then I was single. Obviously, I'm not going to contact my ex, when I was with the other girl. But then I was single, and I was just like, you know what? Kind of, as I said to you earlier about something unrelated, I've tried everything. Well, I've never done any like the ayahuasca stuff. I haven't done that. But other than that, I tried pretty much everything. And I'm like, none of things work. So I'm going to try what I haven't tried. So I Instagrammed her. And my Instagram was, in hindsight, pretty harsh. But like I said, I hated her. My Instagram was like, hey, I no longer hate you. That was like, and shockingly, she replied to it. But, we talked a little bit. And then we ended up having dinner. And it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Because after that dinner, like, before the dinner, I obviously had changed my feelings towards her. But after the dinner, like, I consider, like, we're friends now. Where I'm going with all this, I promise there's a point. It take a while to get there. But you can edit, right? So the whole thing is, again, my current girlfriend kind of said some things to me that got me thinking. Now, I happened to talk to my ex, I don't know, 8 months ago, whatever it is. But I was still upset about the last girlfriend, not the one I've been talking about, but the last girlfriend that cheated on me. And I was really mad at her. Like, I was doing the same victim. I was pissed at her for cheating on me. And what my current girlfriend, basically said was, and this girl's perfect. Perfect. I don't know how, but there's nothing wrong with her. I don't understand those kinds of people. Actually, she did have a rough childhood, but she's a great person. And her speech was essentially, we were together for like 5 months, and her conversation was letting me know that I tell her these things, like how much she means to me and all these different things, which I'm telling you, when I say them, I 100% mean them. I'm not lying or bullshitting or anything. But she was like, but your actions don't match what you're saying. And I was like, like, wait, what? And she said some things to me. And then I thought about it over a couple of days. And I realized.
What did she say?
In short, it was, I feel that you're going to leave me. Because there's always the next best thing. And I listened to her. And she's gorgeous. Off camera, I'll show you a picture. Gorgeous. But there's always a new gorgeous girl. And a younger gorgeous girl. And, and I mean, she was saying this, not me. And she said it to me, and I was there, and I was like, she's like, that's my fear. So I'm telling you this because I'm letting you know of something I'm concerned about, which I obviously super appreciate. It's actually changed a lot of things, but I was like, she said it, and normally, or, you'd be like, oh no, no. She said it, and I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because you are so good. You're so good in every way that highly more than likely, subconsciously, I don't feel I deserve you. So I'll either self-sabotage to ruin it, or in a couple years, there'll be some girl who's super pretty or, whatever, and I'll upgrade my trophy. And again, it sounds ruthless and hardcore, but that's the shitty, hurt child mine that's trying to get external things to give them value. You know, I'll try and get someone else that, see, I was with this girl, she's beautiful, and this one is now too, so I have value, you know. And I said that to her, and then I was like, but I don't want to be that way, and I'm sorry, and you know, thank you for telling me, and I'm going to work on this, and I am. But where it ties in with the thinking about it, I realized with both those exes, I was with one for 10 years and one for 5 years. I didn't marry either of them. I was always looking for the next best thing. Not consciously, but subconsciously. I always had one foot out the door. It's my fault they cheated on me because I wasn't committed. It's my fault. All the pain that I experienced for 7 years, my fault, not hers. She was just she's just protecting herself. Of note, the guy that she left me for, they're still together. And they have kids together. But I was still hurt. I wasn't hurt anymore about the ex because, you know, I had dinner with her and everything. But the other ex, I was still pretty upset about it. Until my girlfriend was like, you know, you're doing this. And then I realized, holy shit, it was my fault that she cheated on me. It was my fault, not hers, my fault. Now that I'm not the victim, doesn't bother me. I mean, it bothers me that it's a shitty part of myself that I gotta fix. But as far as hurting me, it doesn't hurt me anymore. It makes me want to fix it, but it doesn't hurt.
Have you fixed it? I think a lot of guys from our backgrounds.
I think it's super common.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the fuck we got in. That's how you got in.
It is.
It's the next best thing.
It is a side effect of a lack of self-worth, fundamental self-worth.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's interesting that we just had this conversation about how the military
the
praise
patterns, yeah,
on
the
that.
similar, yep. And so, have I fixed it? No. I mean, literally, this was like last week.
That just happened last week?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yep. Yeah, it just happened last week. And so, I mean, I just figured all this stuff out. But I did start, I started realizing, you know, the term is, well, here's the other thing. Why have I not been all in a relationship? I can tell you, it's very simple. Because the only way to be all in is to expose yourself to emotional pain, potential emotional pain. Yeah, that's too risky. I'll just half-ass it for a couple years. She'll leave me, and then I'll be upset at her, and I'll be the victim, and then I won't be the bad guy. I'll just do that. It's easier. Again, once you start to realize that you're the villain in your story, weirdly, it gets easier. It seems like it would be the opposite.
That's a damn good way to put it. Well, hey, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get into your military career.
All right.
And we'll get into some more of this kind of stuff.
Let's do it, dude.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a minute since I've done a Bubs Naturals commercial, but it has not been a minute since I've taken the best shit of my entire life. Actually, just knocked one out this morning. It was amazing. And I'm going to give you the secret. You ready? Here's the secret. You want the secret for the best shit of your entire life that you could do, I don't know, every day, maybe multiple times a day? Here's the secret. Bubs Naturals Collagen Peptide says it's good for joints, hair, skin, and nails. I'm surprised they don't put on there it'll give you the best shit of your entire life, but hey, I get it, right? And you mix that with the Halo Creamer that's MCT oil. Put these two together, you're gonna have a explosive hell of a day. These things are both Whole30 approved, NSF certified, and USDA approved. So there's that. On top of that, hold on, wait, there's more. If that doesn't get you going, which I guarantee you it will, you've got Bub's new coffee. So this is the first ever coffee bean Whole30 approved, if you can believe that. And we all know coffee can, speed things up a little bit in the morning. But hold on, wait, there's more. Apple cider vinegar gummies. Guys, I'm going to be honest, I don't know exactly what these things do for you, but here it says, promotes energy, immune support, promotes healthy digestion, and supports healthy metabolism. I can tell you one thing, good luck just eating one of these things, because at the end of the night, I will crush an entire bottle of these. That will not give you the best shit of your life. I wouldn't recommend it. It will speed things up, but you may not like the final outcome. And hold on, wait, there's more. There's more. Bubs came out with a lot of new products. They have these hydrate or die hydration packets, great for post-workout. All this stuff is great for post-workout, especially the collagen protein. Guys, here's another thing about Bubs. Bubs is a tribute company. It's named after Glenn Bubs Doherty, who was a Navy SEAL and a CIA contractor. He died defending our freedom in Benghazi, and Bubs donates a portion of every order to the Glenn Doherty Foundation, and they donate 100% of the proceeds from their products on Veterans Day every year. I love this company. They are just solid people with a solid product, and they just want everybody to experience the best shit of your life. Go to bubsnaturals.com, use the promo code Shawn for 20% off, and let's get it going. You've probably heard me talk about my psychedelic journey last year and all the benefits that came from doing it. One, being that I haven't drank in almost a year. I've not had any caffeine in almost a year. My anxiety is gone. My anger is gone. A whole list of benefits came from that, and it led me down this journey of researching benefits of mushrooms and fungi in general. In my research, I found this company called Mudwater. Mudwater is a coffee alternative with 4 adaptogenic mushrooms and herbs with a fraction of the caffeine as a cup of coffee. I have energy without anxiety, jitters, or the crash of coffee. What I really like about Mudwater is that they took the time to find the perfect ingredients to make a product to help you feel better every day. I genuinely believe that Mudwater is a good product. It's Whole30 approved, 100% USD organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher certified. Mudwater also donates monthly to the Berkeley Center for Science of Psychedelics, as Mudwater believes the country's in a mental health epidemic, and so do I. Go to mudwater.com/Shawn to support the show and use the code ShawnMud for 15% off. That's mudwater.com/Shawn. Use the code ShawnMud for 15% off. All right, Tyler, this segment, we are going to dive into your military career, but we did just have a good discussion and
Yes.
cut it off.
If I'm guilty of one thing, it's always talking off camera about stuff I should be talking about on camera.
I do the same shit.
I'm really bad at that. Really bad.
But it was an interesting discussion. You're basically saying, I don't know how to say it, but why aren't people more open on camera? You were basically saying it would help a lot of people if people were more open on camera, but instead people chase that, this is what I think people want me to be, and they get themselves into this character mindset, or whatever you want to call it. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I left contracting for the agency, I started the training thing, like like everybody, right? Everybody
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I started a training thing. And what I noticed is all these trainers at that time period, I knew half these fucking guys.
And you knew that wasn't them.
I know that's not them.
Yeah.
And I could see them and I'm like, man, that shit's got to be exhausting. Like, everybody already thinks you're a fucking tough guy being from the special operations community. You know, people are already scared shitless of you. But you get these guys who are all yoked up, you know, and they play the tough guy part, and it's, you just know that's not them. And when I was coming into the training game, I decided very early on, I don't want to have to act like that all the fucking time, because that's not me, and that shit would be exhausting, having to play that character 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 fucking days a year until you die.
Absolutely. I mean, I assume. Do you know about the documentary that I did?
I do.
Okay, so that was really the first. I think that was the first time I really talked on camera. So on that, you know, I didn't know, I wouldn't let Rick, I didn't know any questions he was going to ask me. I didn't know anything. When he turned the camera on, I'd answer the questions right there. We never did a second take. Never. So everything is my first response, you know, right then. If I ever do interviews, I'll be like, no, don't give me the questions. I don't want to fucking rehearse it. Ask me and I'll give you an answer. That being said, did kind of screw me over one time, but actually I'll tell you the story real quick because it's kind of funny. I mean, this is like a newscaster on the set of SEAL Team. It's season 1, episode 2, and they're like, "Hey, will you do this interview with some guy from whatever news?" I'm like, "Sure." So I sit down, and again, this is a professional newscaster. It's not like a freaking, you know, some kid on YouTube, right? And I sit down, and I'm in like a wetsuit because we were filming. And he goes, "So I hear you could kill me with a pencil." That's his first question. And I was like, yeah, like in my head, I'm like, I did not see, like, really? Like, did anyone brief this guy? Like, that's what you're leading with? I think my response was, technically you can kill somebody with anything, which is true. Anything can kill a person. But to include water. But so on that thing, I just, I'm going to be me. And, you know, I've just kind of kept the same, you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it unfiltered. And the thing I learned is that, I used to say this when I used to do speaking stuff, but like, I can't tell, you know, if I'm in a room of 100 people, I can't tell anyone here how to be happy. Everyone's super different, all have different interests, hobbies, whatever. I can't give you a formula for being happy. But right now, definitively, I can give everyone here a formula for absolute misery. Be someone other than who you are. Absolute misery, no question, and it will, in every situation, eventually, who you really are will find its way to the top, and then you'll be happy.
I'm going to rephrase that a little bit too, just for the slow learners like myself out there. Don't be who you think everybody wants you to be. Just fucking be yourself. Quit worrying about what everybody else thinks you should be doing, thinks you should be, thinks what you shouldn't be doing. You need to fucking do what you want to do.
So, yes, and I'll give a couple things that I say based on that specific piece, and that is, why do so many people, I shouldn't say so many people, why in general do we take advice or listen, same thing, to people who aren't where we want to be? If you listen to them, you will get what they have. You will be where they are. That's how they got there. Not only that, but if you listen to what they want, like let's just look at society in general. You know, the fundamental will of society is, you know, it's the average, it's most. If you do what society wants you to do, that is a military term. It's been a while, but I got it. That is a hardball road to averageness, right there. And yet we feel this pressure. I mean, I felt it for a long time, and also on top of that, for a long time, I felt like I needed everyone to like me.
You don't feel that pressure anymore?
No.
Nothing.
No, fuck everyone.
No shit.
Fuck them.
Fucking good for you, man. I still feel it. I don't succumb to it, but I still feel it.
Nope. I now actually feel the opposite. Fucking hate me.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. I feel it right now because I know why everybody, what they want to hear from you. They want to hear your combat shit. And I want to give it to them, but I'm enjoying this conversation more than that. I'm just telling you, I feel the pressure, you know, and we're about 2 hours into this right now, and we haven't even barely touched on any of that. And I'm cool with it.
I mean,
I don't feel the pressure.
No,
I mean, I feel the pressure, but I'm not succumbing to it. We'll get there, and that's fine. But
I think here's why I say that, and that is, I've done things, and I'm in air quotations, like I've done things the right way. Some people like me, and some people hated me. Mm-hmm. I did things the wrong way. Some people like me, some people hated me. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter. Like Elon Musk. Some people like him, some people hate him. It doesn't matter what he does. Like, no matter what you do, your friends are going to love you no matter what, and your enemies are going to hate you no matter what. So why try and cater to their desires or whims? Like, it doesn't mean anything. And people, you know, again, this is a great thing for the active duty people. It's like, why do, and not to rip on your community, but why do SEALs write books? Is it because they're unprofessional? No, it's because they got out. They earned their stories and they monetized them. Is this wrong? I don't think so. It's their story. Do whatever you want with your story. You earned it. And it's guys that write books, people that don't like them, hate them more. Their friends, still their friends. Doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with everything that's ever been done, but I'm just saying in general, you know, when you get out too, you look at, you're not in. It's just not the same. Mm-hmm. And the problem, our fundamental problem is, why do so many guys write books? As an example. Why do so many guys start training companies? And by so many, I mean everyone. I did it.
you did it too?
Oh yeah, dude, who didn't?
Why did you do it? Because you think that's what everybody wanted you to do?
No, I actually did it pretty early on. I was playing guns as a kid. You know, I was like, I love guns, and at the time, I got kind of burned out training. I still like training CQB because it's more about philosophy than it is like hard tactics. I teach very strange CQB because it's more about concepts and not about techniques, because the technique is irrelevant if you know the concept. But the training thing, it goes back to, if you were warriors throughout history had jobs after war. We don't know.
That's true.
They don't even want us to be cops.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do? Die? Go fishing on military retirement? No. Fucking guy writes a book? Great. Fuck him. Fuck the government. Fuck the people that are still in. Why? Because they're still in. They don't know what it's like to be out. We've been there. We know what it's like to be in. You don't know what it's like to be out. So if you want to judge someone, judge them when you're in the same position. Until you're there, hold off on it.
Yeah.
But for me, dude, I'm going to be myself. I'll be who I am, which I'm not an angel. I'm not a saint. Like I said, I am... Shit, if this was a radio show and we had a call-in, we could probably get 200 girls to call in and talk about what a piece of shit I am. And they would all be right. Dudes, I don't think a dude would call in and, but for girls, yeah, I've been a piece of shit. No question. And I am absolutely comfortable admitting that, because it's only understanding and admitting that that's allowed me to change. So on that, though, going back to what we started with, is once you accept and can just throw out your flaws and just, it's who you are. And once you're comfortable with who you are and you don't need to be something else, that's when you'll actually start feeling comfortable. Like I believe that life is just a process. Everyone says that life is about what is it? Building. What is it? Life is about building who you are. There's some saying life is about, building who you are. I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's absolute horseshit. I don't think it makes any sense at all.
How so?
So, if life is about building who you are, I've talked to a lot of people and asked them, like, if you could do anything, what would you do right now? Blah, whatever it is. Did you like that as a kid? Yep. I think we know who we are as children. I mean, there's a lot we don't know as far as the world, but as far as who we are, I think the best knowledge of that is us as kids. And then I think walls get put in front of us by society, parents, friends, blah, 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 and it steers us away from who we are.
Well, I would definitely agree with that. 100%, but don't you think that through life's experiences that also builds who you are?
Absolutely. I don't mean that, you don't build more of who you are, but I mean like on a fundamental level of like interest and, your core personality. Dude, that's there from, very early on.
Have you read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz by chance? Mm-mm. He talks about this. He talks about the indoctrination that starts from the moment you're born into religion, into education, your parents, your grandparents, your friends, everybody. Everybody is indoctrinating you into what they think you need to become, literally from the fucking moment you're born. I'm going to give you that book. I think I have it right there. I want to give it to you. It's a short read.
I'd love it. Well, so it's funny you say that because why wasn't I? Because I was never indoctrinated. Why?
Everybody's indoctrinated.
Well,
One way or another.
Sorry.
Everybody's
I
indoctrinated.
was obviously, but not as heavily, and I'll tell you why. It's because my parents didn't give a shit what I did.
Yeah.
They weren't pushing anything on me. You know what I mean? So like, I remember being a kid, listening to shit my parents were saying and being like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just like, I'm not going to do that. Like they didn't force me to go to church. There's a lot of things that was pushed at college. Fuck, they couldn't afford it. They told me like, good luck. I'm like, I mean, it didn't matter. I didn't want to go to college anyways. But, there was a lot of those, like I see it with, good parents that are actual, in their kids' lives, but at the same time, they're definitely pushing an agenda. And yeah, I was lucky. My lack of parental supervision, helped me kind of look at everything and go, that makes more sense. I'm going to do that. But yeah, that self-actualization, I'll say this. Actually, quite frankly, this is pretty fucking important. A lot of times I remember, like, I think of shit that's actually really obscure, but like major, glaring, obvious shit, it won't even cross my mind. So this is an example. I just thought of this now. It's like ties everything together that we're talking about. So, childhood. So, I was a very nice, sensitive kid. Why? Well, many reasons. But my mom, I mean, I never saw my dad. My dad was a fucking... So this is a true story. When my mom and dad met, my dad was a cowboy who lived on a ranch. And on the weekends, he went into town and pool sharked at a pool hall, literally called the Pearly Q. My mom was a waitress. So that's my dad. But my mom raised me. So my mom raised me to be pretty much the opposite of my dad. My dad, kind of an asshole. Well, especially when he drinks. So she raised me to be nice to everyone. Everyone needs to like you. That's how she raised me. And when I was in the 8th grade, like, again, no experience with girls. I hadn't even really kissed a girl by the 8th grade. We moved houses. So the whole group that I grew up with, we moved houses to another school district, another neighborhood. And it was at this time that I was pretty frustrated. I was frustrated that in my mind, I was a good kid. I was nice, and the girls didn't like me. I didn't get it, And at the same time, I saw a bunch of my friends, not being serial killers, but just being guys, and, freaking having to choose which girl they're going to go out with on this night or really at that time, go to the mall on the weekend, But so I was playing, I played a lot of role-playing games. Originally it was Dungeons and Dragons, and then it was this other role-playing game. And I made a character. It was based in the future, but I made the character. And I know it sounds crazy, and it is. And the character, so think of Fight Club. The character was my Brad Pitt. It was who I wanted to be. Like, if you make up a character for a game, you make, like, a version of yourself, like the video game best version of yourself. So I made up this character. And then I don't remember what the definitive point was, but I was switching schools. and I just started to act like the character. And that character, I mean, it's not like the role-playing game was about picking up girls, but the character was a veteran. I mean, it was just, but like I wrote a whole backstory, all kinds of stuff. And so I just completely changed my personality, completely, night and day. And I became, again, I don't want to use the word asshole, but, I became what I saw working, which maybe was an asshole. Either way. And it worked.
Interesting.
And it was a hyper confident. Was it manufactured confidence? Yeah. But people can't tell the difference, especially when you've convinced yourself, and I played a hyper confident, super outgoing, freaking, once I started talking to girls, I realized like, shit, I can sell, I can, I've got game, you know what I mean? I can, do well in a conversation. And, so that, I started that in like the ninth grade, and I just became a completely different person. And then I suddenly had, freaking 4 different girls I was seeing at one time. And I'm promise again, I'm going somewhere with this, but that version of myself, or that created character, then I was in the military, got out of high school, joined, went to Ranger Battalion, went to the unit. Again, dude, if we went on a training trip, I man-hored for a long time. Again, full disclosure. Why though? Why was I such man-whore? Well, simple, because I'm trying to, that girl, like, that's value. It's like, oh, I can get her. So that means, like, if she thinks that I'm good enough for her, then that means I'm good. But because it's never an internal feeling, it's never enough, because nothing, like, you do it and then it happens and then it doesn't mean anything.
No.
So then, like, I had this girlfriend, which is a whole crazy story how we met. And then I got hurt. And the reason I'm going through that whole freaking thing is when I got hurt and I got out of the hospital, I was no longer an operator. I lost everything. I lost, I forget how many pounds, but I look like I probably lost 50 pounds in the hospital. I couldn't move, for a while, or get up, I should say. And what broke me, I wasn't like the physical pain, any of that. It was, I was out of the hospital maybe a year post-injury, I don't know. And this took me a long time to figure out, but that character, that confident character I'd created, and all the things I got in the military just kept feeding that confidence and that persona. And then when I lost it, and I lost my physical ability, I lost my shape, all those things, it basically cracked that false identity that I had made. It was built on quicksand. All right. It was built on cement, but under the cement was sand. And over time, it got eroded and it cracked it and it split and the whole fucking thing came down. So my real what messed me up about this, what this caused, physical pain and whatever. What it really caused that hurt was an identity crisis. Because I realized that I didn't know who I was. I had no idea. Because I had made that up when I was 12. And I'd been living that.
Let's rewind, because I want to get to that.
Yeah.
Let's rewind. Let's get into your military career.
All right.
So, joined the military, were you 18?
No, I was like 19.
19?
Yeah, I waited. Well, I went to LA and tried to... The two things I wanted to do as a kid... Well, I already told you. I love film, and I loved the military.
So you tried acting first?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't know at the time what I wanted to do in Hollywood. I just wanted to work. So yeah, I moved to LA and tried to. It didn't work out. Yeah, I mean, I have some funny stories just of how unaware I was, of the process. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah. So then I joined I literally joined from the Hollywood. There was an Army recruiter in Hollywood across from Capitol Records, the Capitol Records building. It's not there now, but that's where I joined from. Literally Hollywood. So, Jesus, the amount of times I heard fucking Hollywood at MEPS. Because it said it, Hollywood, In hindsight, I would have picked a different office to join out of. It was a bad idea.
Well, what was the point then that you decided, all right, this film thing is not going to work? I'm going to go the military route.
I realized it wasn't that I knew it wasn't going to work. It was that I realized it was going to take serious time. And I also somehow at that time realized that the military, you have to do one when you're young, so I was just like, you know what? I just got to get this out of my system for lack of a better term. And I went into the recruiter, and so I wanted to be a Green Beret because of Rambo or First Blood. Well, Rambo, First Blood. And so I went in and I'm like, I want to be a Green Beret. And they're like, yeah, I can't do that because they didn't have the SF Baby program then, 18X rate. And so I was all right. Well, what's the hardest thing I could do? Like Ranger, and I literally had a Ranger poster. I had all the Army units. A lot of people, I get this all the time. People are like, why don't you become a SIL? And I tell them the honest answer, and no one believes me.
What is it?
I do not float. And
that's a damn good reason.
Everyone says, no, everyone floats. And I try and say, no, they don't. That is a misconception. I will go to the bottom of the pool. Well, not all the way to the bottom. Actually, let me back up. I can float. I just won't be able to breathe. I won't sink to the bottom of the ocean, but my head will be underwater. Kind of a big deal.
Just a tad.
I try to tell people, they're like, everyone floats. I'm like, you got to put the air in your lungs. I'm like, I know how to fucking do it. I'm telling you. And actually, as a kid, when I was learning to swim, they kept telling me I was doing it wrong. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. My lungs are full and I'm going under. I've always been like that. And I'm sure that's a thing. But anyways, yeah, never an option. Never even a possibility. I was like, because for me, the water, dude, it was just the amount of energy I'd have to expend just to be in the water. Oh, dude, I hate the water. Well, actually, now going scuba diving, if I can control my buoyancy and breathe underwater, awesome. I love scuba diving. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. Dude, if I had $1 for every time people ask me about buds, even though I've a million times said I was never a SEAL, people are still like, how was buds? I don't know.
Maybe that's because you produced the show SEAL Team.
But
just a hunch.
Even that, I still say, I put it out there in a lot of places. But so then, yeah, they're like Ranger contract, and I was just like, done. And I joined I think that day or the next day.
Oh, that fast.
Oh, yeah. Well, they were super excited in Hollywood that I could just pass the ASVAB. That like blew their minds that I passed. They were like, whoa, we got a guy. All right. Yeah, it was great. Or I should say that I wanted to join and I passed on like the first try, which I don't know how I got the score I did because I never paid attention in school, so I got lucky. But yeah, I joined and I can honestly say like, man, like basic training, freaking everything. Like I had fun. Like I liked it. Like it wasn't certain things were, whatever, but I liked it. Like I truly enjoyed there wasn't anything other than admin bullshit. Like if it was like, other than admin stuff I hated, but if it was like, an O course or anything, like I loved everything about that experience. I remember being at MEPS, or is it MEPS? No. 30th AG, which is like before you go to basic training, you're at like this, like the processing, like you fly from your city and then you go and you're like processing before you get assigned to. Yeah. I was there and I was like, I mean, look, I'll be perfectly honest. I took that shit way too seriously. You know what I mean? Like way too seriously. Like I was like, I'd get annoyed if people were talking informally. Like, in my head, I'm like, I will fucking stand here at parade rest for 8 hours. Fuck you. And I won't say a word. Like, to me, that was a professional soldier, Now I kind of look back and, the guys that were smoking and joking before the instructors came out, yeah, that was probably the right move, But, yeah, I had fun,
What year did you go in?
97 when I joined.
Was anything going on then?
No.
Nothing?
No. The only, it obviously wasn't going on, but what was fresh was Somalia. So, Somalia was like, the military always fights the last war.
Yeah.
So Somalia was, and being in Ranger Battalion, Somalia was like a reference to almost every training we did,
Interesting. So where did you go from there? Where'd you go from training?
So I did it's a different process now, but process then was basic training, airborne school, RIP, got assigned to Ranger Battalion. My first job, like I'm thinking, saw gunner, something sexy. Nah, I was an assistant machine gunner. At the time, we didn't even carry a rifle.
Oh, man.
I had a fucking M9 and an AG bag that weighed, with ammo, like fucking, I remember it weighed 110 pounds one time. 100 rounds of 7.62 by 51 is 7.7 pounds. And I still remember that.
Wow.
Ironically, so is it a 240 barrel. It's 7.7 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, ironically. But, yeah, I had the tripod, teeny, all steel, right? And every 100 rounds, 7.7 pounds. 1,000 rounds in a machine gun is not a lot. That's 77.7 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah. And I had 2 spare barrels. So, yeah, my first year in Ranger Battalion was just basically a mule, Which, again, at the time, I looked at, like, the guys doing the cool shit, and I'm fucking carrying 100 pounds of bullshit and a pistol, But in hindsight, it really set me up for success later. Because, 110-pound ruck, all right. It sucks.
Yeah.
But, it's more, rucking specifically is way more mental than it is physical. It just feels like you're a tin can getting crushed, but the body can do much more than the mind wants to. So I learned a lot from from that job. And then I went to Ranger School, I think after a year-ish, which was fast at the time. Graduated Ranger School, came back. I don't know how long I was in. Actually, I came back and I was still on a gun team. I just remembered. So I came back as a tab spec 4 in Ranger Battalion, which, when you go to Ranger School and come back and get your tab, you're considered, you're not a sergeant, but you're like a leader-ish, to privates. So 9.9 times out of 10 in a gun squad, in a weapon squad, 9.9 times out of 10, the gunner is the tab 1. I just happened to come back to an all-tabbed weapon squad. So now I've got my tab. Yay, I'm awesome. And I'm still a fucking assistant gunner carrying the fucking AG bag.
Damn.
My entire time in weapon squad, I was never a gunner.
Are you
I
serious?
swear to you. It's hilarious to me now. Like, I never was a gunner. Actually, the one training thing that I was going to be a gunner for, I was all excited. Just fuck, fucking, it's not, well, actually it was live rounds, but this fucking turd we had, it's the only time I've ever seen or even heard of it happening, but he went AWOL. And so because he left, I had to be the AG for the other gunner. I was like, that son of a bitch.
Oh my God.
Oh, so funny. And on that note of that guy, so it was me and my buddy were like his leaders. All the other privates in the entire platoon were getting their shit handed to them daily. Daily. Me and this guy, he was in the British military in like the 80s, like old school dude. Me and him were just like, look, man, we're just going to treat him, we're not going to hate, we'll smoke the shit out of him at PT in the morning, and we'll push him, but we won't haze him. And that fucker goes, he had it 1,000 times easier than any other private there. Anyways, and so I ended up being the AG again. And then the sniper section in the battalion had like a little selection tryouts. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do that. So I went and tried out for that. And me and another buddy of mine from the same platoon went over there. And then I was there for the rest of my time in Ranger Battalion.
How long were you at Ranger Battalion?
Let's see, I was there for 4.5 years, something like that. So I think I was there for maybe 3.5 snipers.
Oh, 3.5 years as a sniper, huh?
3 or 3.5. I have to do the math. But.
Did you deploy with Ranger Battalion?
Yep, yeah, Afghanistan.
What year?
02.
02?
Yeah, because I was in second, so it went third, did the jump into Kandahar. First did the, basically did QRF out of Kandahar, which was when Roberts Ridge happened. And then we rotated them out. So we came right after Anaconda, and we basically, that was when all the pushes were happening to the outstations. So I went and pushed out with the, funny, interesting tidbit. So I was one of the first people at Skin, which they renamed all the, that's what it was called because that's the town it was in. Mm-hmm. And I was a sniper, and the first Blackwater team, led by Erik Prince himself, lived upstairs above us.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. Erik Prince himself was there. It was like a, 5-man team. It was very small because there was agency people at the FOB. But, and actually I met Erik Prince, at SHOT Show or whatever. And I brought it up to him and he's like, oh, no shit. He didn't remember me, but he remembered obviously being there.
Yeah.
But the reason that I had more interaction with them is because they were all, at that time, the contract was more sniping. And so they all had I forget what they had. But anyways, I was giving them ammo and stuff because I was a sniper as well. So, but yeah, and then while I was in Afghanistan, so as a sniper, I was, we're a battalion asset, or at least the way it was structured then, was battalion asset. So wasn't assigned to any specific platoon or company or anything. So I kind of bounced around, or my team, I should say, and I bounced around. I was a sniper team leader at that time. And we got assigned to go do a mission with a team from the unit because they didn't have snipers with them. So we went on that. And after that, I was like, I'm trying out as soon as I get back.
Well, let's talk about opening all these fobs. What was that? I mean, that was early on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was when they first opened, yeah.
I would think that would be amazing work.
I mean, it was strange in hindsight. I mean, dude, I was doing, like, me and my team were doing 4-day patrols. Like, literally leaving the fob, 4 Rangers, and we'd be gone for 3 or 4, we did several, but 3 or 4 days, just on our own. No fucking way they would do that now. But we didn't know, you know what I mean? It was just, it was just different then. No one had, I mean, we'd be out fucking, hanging it out there back then.
What was the point? What were you guys doing?
From the directive of the platoon we were attached to, we were basically like a forward warning system for the fob.
Okay.
Like we'd go out and, if anyone was going to attack them, we'd see them before they got there, theoretically. We're also doing recce of some of the, the surrounding areas too.
Any offensive type stuff?
No, not really. I mean, it was nothing. There was nothing crazy. That deployment wasn't. I mean, there was, like, an SF team got ambushed, and then we reacted to their ambush, and did that whole thing. I mean, there was nothing. One of the guys died at the fob, but like. I mean,
It wasn't like what you were expecting.
It wasn't. It wasn't what I was. It wasn't the war I was hoping for.
So what happened on the operation that you went on with Delta?
It was. I forget what the fuck we were doing. We went somewhere for something. I don't remember what, but we got shot at, and. Which also was my first real, dude, fucking counter sniping is hard. I mean, when you're in mountain, like, it's like a needle in a haystack. But it was just, again, it was just it was a different level, different environment, different everything.
Can you just walk us through that op in detail?
So I don't remember it super. I mean, nothing crazy happened. That's why I don't remember it super well. I do not remember what we were doing.
Well, what was it that happened on that operation that made you go, I want to be over here?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was just the competence of those guys. Confidence, knowledge. It was like they were Morpheus. Like they knew everything. It's like, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like it like blew my mind. And there's a crazy tie-in to the team leader of that team later, which is again crazy, but just everything was just like, I mean, I was at the Point and Range Battalion. I was a sniper team. No, shit. Actually, I was a sniper section leader. Sorry. I was a sniper section leader. So at that point, I wasn't really learning I was teaching, and I just wanted to be Joe again and be learning from people way better than me. And that's how I felt when I was with them. I'm like, dude, these guys are leaps and bounds above me. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be somewhere where I'm back to being the lowest man on the totem pole and in knowledge and skill.
You're looking for that challenge.
Exactly. I wanted to, like, I wanted everyone around me to be better, because that's how you get better.
Yeah.
And so when I got back from that deployment, like, I went to the first, whatever the meeting was, and dropped my packet.
Well, what was, you said that was the first time you've been shot at?
Yeah, was it? I think so. Can't remember anything before that.
How did that feel? Were you excited?
Oh, yeah, I was super excited. Yeah, I was super excited. And, like, second, third time, still, like, yeah. I mean, maybe had the bullet, like, hit between my legs, I wouldn't have been so excited, but, yeah, no, I was...
Did you engage anyone?
No, not on that. No,
Not on that one.
like I said, I mean, it was, I forget how many shots were fired, but it was just, even repeated shots, I was like, it's like a helicopter, where, I could not
Yeah.
triangulate where the hell it was coming from. Yeah, no, I was, it wasn't until my first Iraq deployment that I really, like, was like, oh, this is war, like, like, I mean, Afghanistan was, and it was just, every war location, it's like when non-veterans talk about NOM, it's like, you say you were Da Nang, I'm making something up, but, you're here. Well, were you here in this year? Or this, it's a completely different war,
Yeah.
Everywhere. So, the Koregul Valley in the beginning was like, built the fobs. It wasn't until later that the kind of people moved in. When they first went into Baghdad in 2003, dude, my buddies were saying that they would, after, like, from the green zone, they'd go in light-skinned vehicles and go rug shopping. It wasn't until post... after the Blackwater thing happened at Fallujah, around that time, that's when, shit started kicking off. So it's just interesting how the same place just changes so dramatically over time.
Yeah. So you came back
Yep.
from Afghanistan. You put a packet in to go over to Delta. Mm-hmm. How long did that take to get over there?
I got back in August, I think. I think I got back in August. And then I went to selection in March. Yeah, August, and then I went to selection in March. And...
Made it through selection first time?
Yeah.
First time I've heard that.
I think it's not common. I think, I forget the number, but it's, the majority is the second time. And put it this way, the whole time I was in selection, I was in my head freaking constantly ARing everything I did and everything for the second time. Like, I had no expectation of making it the first time. I mean, you don't know shit. Like, I even had, this is a funny story. I worked that EP gig I told you about. I worked for one of the guys that made the standards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he had been drinking. I had dinner with him. He had been drinking. So I was like, I asked him some things. And what he told me, again, even drinking, he didn't say anything. But what he did say just confused me even more.
What did you ask him?
I was asking him certain, like, cumulative time, just like details about the timing. I was just trying to pick and get it. And dude, like, it just confused me more. Like, I don't think he was aware enough to bullshit me, but everything you think, it's the best kept secret in the military, as far as I'm concerned. No one knows anything. I mean, and the people that know don't tell anyone, but I can tell you, I know a lot, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how the fuck it works. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's like I said, I was really hoping to get some kind of just something to make it make a little bit more sense. Like, and it didn't. But yeah, I went fully with the expectation of going again.
What were you trying to make sense of? The standards, what they're looking for?
No. I was specifically, because everything's timed, so I was trying to figure out the details on
Okay.
on the
I know what you're
times,
talking
not
about.
on what the times were, because that actually probably wouldn't even be relevant. But just trying to understand like what they were based off, because like they created the standards. So I was again, I made it. It doesn't matter to me, but I was just trying to understand
The selection standards.
Yeah, like
Okay.
understand what they were like. What were they based on? Or like how did they figure it out? It's just shit like that. I was just curious, and yeah, and I just got more confused and curious. But I mean, it is a very before going, and even there, I was like, I don't see how this applies to the job. After doing the job for a few years, I'm like, I totally see how this applies to the job. I mean, again, it's mostly taken from, British SAS selection, how they came up with the whole thing. I don't know, but it's interesting. It's an interesting process.
What is something that you didn't think applied to the job that after a few years you realized, holy shit, this definitely applies to the job?
Well, I mean, so let's use just counterterrorism in general. I mean, how does rucking, carrying a pack through various terrain alone and navigating, like, how does that have anything to do with CQB and hostage rescue? Like, I was like, I don't get it.
Okay.
And then later I'm like, oh, I get it, So, and again, and there's no official, it's not like they say this translates to this, because, it's just my perspective on what I think it means and why I think it works and why why it's a good system. But, doing it, I mean, again, I had fun then, like being off on my own, doing land nav. Like,
Yeah.
It's not like I have somebody in my face yelling at me, calling me a hero. I was like, just fucking land nav. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this about section, because I'll never forget it. It was just interesting to me. It was one of the days I was walking, and like, let's say I was here, and then I went here, and then I got there, and then they're like, all right, you got to go here. And I was like, all right. So I went there, same place. And then I got there, and they're like, all right, you need to go here. And I'm like, same place? I mean, they didn't say anything, but I was like, oh, well, that's easy. I know how to get there. I don't know how many times I did that. And people quit from that, because they're like, I was just there. As if there's a destination. There's no destination. I'm I'm going to walk until you tell me to stop. I don't give a fuck if I go to Mexico. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, I could walk in a circle. Like, it's irrelevant to me. But some people, they're just in their head. They don't think of it that way. They think of it like, but I was just there. I could have been done. I was there. It's like, there is no there. You're not here. You're not there. There's no end state. Their end state is you're done. I'll never forget that. I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was just like, it never occurred to me. Like, it never bothered me. I didn't think of it that way.
You were never like, how many fucking times am I going to do this shit?
Yeah. Like, to me, like, you tell me to go somewhere, I'll go. Like, I don't care. But I think that's an interesting, like, how many things, like, in the military, like, do you just have to, you can't get attached to the details of it. You just have to do it. It's like, if you thought about the specifics of it, it would drive you crazy. But you just have to, like, fuck it. You just have to get it done, And again, I don't know what the overall method to the madness is, but yeah, a lot of things like that where you're just like, all right, I see. Again, in hindsight, like, there, I did it, gave it my best every day, and then at the end, they're like, you're good. And I was like, cool. Like, I was a little too tired to be super happy about it, but I will say this too, like, when I went to selection, so the class before me had, I want to say 5 or 6, I can't remember, had 5 or 6 guys from 2nd Bat, which is where I was. And I mean, these were 5 or 6 of, like, the fittest fucking dudes that 2nd Bat had. None of them made it.
No shit.
None of them made it. So then when I was going, I went by myself. Because everyone was like, those dudes didn't make it. I'm not fucking going. And when I, like, had my packet approved and everything and I was going, people were like, dude, why the fuck are you going? Like, so-and-so, 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 and so-and-so went last class and they didn't make it. And I was like, yeah, so, like, what does that have to do with me? Like, you know what I mean? Okay, they're fit, but I don't know. Just, again, it didn't matter to me. I didn't. And the reason I bring it up is because somehow, which doesn't make sense to me, somehow I've been able to have such a low opinion of myself for so long, yet in other areas, complete confidence. Yeah. Like, if I had a low opinion about myself in every way, I'd go, shit, those guys didn't make it? Oh, I'm definitely not doing it. But, like, with that, I was just like, well, those guys aren't me. Like, well
we also
give it my own shot.
We also discussed this earlier. You would said it yourself. If somebody tells you can't do something, you're going to fucking do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there's that aspect.
Yeah, that is very true.
I think a lot of guys going into, Rangers as well. Not just all the way up to the unit, but all throughout special operations. I think that that's a factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
so you got in.
That was fun though. I mean, I had a good time there, and then I moved over there and started. I forget how long exactly. It's almost a year, like, of training. That was balls to the wall. That was rough. Yeah. I mean, I was still, which is common, but I was still healing from selection when when I went to the next thing. I mean, my body was still beat up. And I had focused on all cardio and rucking, and then the next thing was not that at all. I mean, in hindsight, I would have trained very differently but that dude that was what I had. That's what I'd been looking for. That was like the movie cool shit.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was like, all right, like this is movie cool. Like this is commando shit.
Did you know anybody over there?
Not well. I knew a couple guys, but not by and large. And it's not a thing, but by and large, guys that that go over, generally you don't talk to them. And it's just because you're busy, So yeah, I knew a couple guys, but I didn't talk to
Kind of
them
lost
much.
touch.
And then when I went over in training, I mean, dude, again, it was rough, but I had a great time. I mean, I fucking learned a shit ton, and I was so happy to be the student again. It was great to be by far the least competent person in the room, and just as it happened, so I went through in 2003. So to be an instructor for that takes about usually it's about a decade. I mean, ish, 9, 8, whatever. And for whatever reason, just by chance, I would say 65 to 70%, disproportionately high, was Somalia veterans. 93, 2003. Again, why? I mean, because that was only one squadron, but a lot of Somalia veterans. And at this time, 2003, there was, we hadn't started Iraq. So there was no real CQB. I mean, there was very little CQB done to that point in Afghanistan. So having, Somalia veterans I learned a lot. It was very interesting.
For those listening that don't know what CQB is, that's clearing a house.
Yeah.
When you see a team of guys enter a house and flow through, that's CQB.
And then, it's funny because, you go through that course and then you do a couple other things afterwards and then you get assigned, to a team and, you're like, you think you're cool. You think you think you're good. And then you get to a team and you're like, I suck again. You know what I mean? Like you're like everything they do is 1,000 times faster than you were doing it at your fastest, and you're just like shit, and I think that's cool, like you get to where you think you're good, and then you go and you're like, nope, I suck again, which is great because then you have to get to that level, and it's. To me, it's just a constant process of being uncomfortable and being the worst guy in the room, which partly means you're a shitbag, but also partly means that you're trying to learn and surround yourself with really good people. And I mean, I learned from a lot of very solid, between leaders and just people I worked with. So, it was a great experience. And then I did my first deployment there.
Where was that to?
Fallujah, 2004.
Fallujah.
Yeah, Fallujah, 2004. I mean, that shit was like World War II. Like, it's not comparable to...
Did you know you were going to Fallujah?
Yeah.
Early on?
Maybe a month before we went on. I don't know exactly. No, maybe it was like only 2 weeks.
What was happening in theater at that time? Had we taken Fallujah yet?
No, so at that time, this is I forget the month, but relatively early 2004. This is after. This is like maybe 2 or 3 months after the Blackwater incident in Fallujah. So at the time, Fallujah was surrounded by the Marine Corps.
The Blackwater incident that you're talking about for the audience is when they
Were
hit the
ambushed.
Contractors. They pulled them out of the vehicle
And hung
they
them off
stripped
the-
them down, burned them,
Yep.
and hung them upside down naked from a bridge.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, that was maybe 3 months prior, but around that time. So at that time, Fallujah was surrounded by, several, was it divisions? I forget my Marine Corps structure, but they were surrounded. Literally the entire city was surrounded. But that was interesting. I mean, it was, just crazy.
Let's dive into it.
Well, I mean, it was just, operationally, there wasn't.
What were you guys doing?
So we were there to essentially develop targets and assist. So we ended up assisting the Marine Corps several times. There's a couple times Marine units got in trouble, and just one as an example was they were taking fire and they couldn't get the building anyways, and we had a SOFLAM, so we ended up going there and calling in CAS. But yeah, I mean, you're calling CAS in the city. Like freaking F-18s dropping bomb. I mean, it was like, Kuwait in the, turning like non. Like, I mean, put it this way. I'm sure you couldn't have Mark 19s in Baghdad. In Fallujah, like dudes would be dumping entire belts or entire cans of Mark 19 rounds. I mean, if you saw someone, you could shoot them.
Mark 19, for those that don't know, is a grenade launcher.
An automatic grenade
An
launcher.
automatic grenade launcher. A can of what? 50 Mike might is what? 50 rounds? 50
I think
grenades?
I think it's 32. I can't remember.
32.
There's two sizes of cans. I forget the larger one, but yeah, the rules of engagement. If you saw someone, you could shoot them, like saw them. Just it was like, at night, Spectre was cleared hot, and we'd watch it, and it would just circle and just hammer like all night long.
Wow.
And then it would go off station when it was Winchester, another one would come on, and just freaking keep up all night. But yeah, Fallujah, there was some, you couldn't go in. I mean, that wasn't possible. So everything was done around the outside, because like one Marine unit pushed in, I think like 100 yards, and it was so bad. Tanks had to, Abrams had to come get them out. I mean, it was that intense.
I know who that was. He was in here for that interview. For an interview.
Which one?
His name's Cody Alford. He talks about.
Was he a Marine?
Yep, he talks about working side by side with you guys.
Okay, so that I was there.
Yeah.
Who he's directly referring to, though, is probably my buddy who's the medic that saved. He almost saved a guy. He saved him, and then he dumped him off, and they pushed IVs and blew out all the clotting that he had developed. I know it's a shitty story.
He said that you guys were telling them that you had never seen shit like this before.
Oh,
was going down over there?
that was like when those guys. I mean, I assume from what I was told that it was what Somalia was like. I assume. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, they got hit hard, like hard, at daybreak, you know. I mean, mortars, RPGs, PKMs. Yeah, I mean, it was big. And but yeah, I mean, that was again, it just that fucking Abrams shooting into the city.
Yeah.
Like the main gun.
That's crazy.
It was just insane. And again,
So what were you guys just roaming the battlefield pretty much, just killing bad guys? Or was there a very specific target set that you were after? Because it seems counterintuitive to insert a team just to roam.
We were trying to develop targets for ourselves, but you couldn't. Like you could not fly there.
Yeah.
You could not drive in, and you could not insert a helicopter.
Well, how the hell were you guys going to develop targets for yourself?
Well, that's what we were. I mean, we didn't know that until we started to go through the process. But that was the intent, was to develop targets. And then, spending the time there is like, it's nothing we could do. I sat in on the invasion briefings and all that. Yeah, I met General Mattis, who was a legend then, let alone later. And then we were there for the big gun trade-in, to where they traded in like crew serve weapons. I forget what they got, but they turned in. Basically, they DX'd their old non-working stuff. Just hilarious shit, But yeah, so I mean, we just ended up doing a lot of stuff with the Marine Corps. Just, I mean, we hit targets with the Marine Corps. So I learned a lot about the Marine Corps just working with them, that deployment.
What was your impression of them?
In short, Marines are solid dudes that get fucked. Like,
are they good at what they do?
Yes, but they're always doing it without the proper resources. It's almost like their command is like, we'll show you how shitty of conditions our Marines can operate in. Like, that's how I felt about it,
Damn, that's a fucking shame.
That's how I felt, and I was just like I'll tell you right now, I walked out of the invasion briefing.
No shit.
Fucking got up and walked out. I was pissed. I was fucking pissed.
What were you pissed about? What specifically?
The plan. I listened to the plan, and I was just like, and dude, I
mean, what were you pissed about, though? Were you pissed that we were sending in 18-year-old kids into a fucking kill zone? Were you pissed that they didn't have the resources they need to accomplish the mission?
I was pissed at how stupid the plan was. I was pissed that in the plan was casualties. In the plan. We're going to lose some guys here. We're going to lose some guys here. Like, no, redo your plan. Your plan's shit. I was young. I was like 20. I made selection when I was like 25, which was very, very young at that time. Very unusual at that time. My OTC class graduated 2 enlisted operators.
That's it?
That's it. Me and another dude around the same age who's just got out, actually. But
that entire selection OTC for 2 fucking guys. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
And so I was young, full of piss and vinegar. I just
in the middle of 2 wars, and they like snatched up 2 guys. That shit's unheard of. I've never fucking heard that
Yeah.
from any other unit.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I went at the beginning of Iraq is I was like, we're not going to Iraq. I was like, no, we're in Afghanistan still. We're not going nowhere. So I was like committed. And then when it started happening, I was like, well, fuck, I was wrong about that, But yeah, just listening to the Marine officers, how they talked about enlisted Marines just fucking pissed me off. It just
Damn.
fucking pissed me off. And I was just,
Well, that's another thing that came out in that episode too with Cody is all of that leadership over there and how shit it is and how it became more shit as time went on.
yeah, I mean, I put it this way. I was not senior enough in the unit to get up and walk out of that meeting.
Yeah.
My team leader was not happy about it. But it was either I walked out or I would have said something. Because, should I have been more political? Absolutely. But I just couldn't. It was the dumbest fucking plan I've ever heard. Well, maybe not the dumbest plan I've ever heard. But, it was just...
You're not used to seeing conventional planning.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Plus, I knew what was there, Yeah. That pissed me off. And then they put off the invasion. So they were supposed to invade when we were there. And then they didn't. I forget why. And then they ended up taking the city, I think, 6-ish months later, I can't remember, and lost, I want to say 50 Marines. It's the one thing I've learned on a related side note. As everyone says, like, DFQ. Don't fucking quit. Never quit. Don't ever fucking quit. And that works to a point. Example, let's say there's 5 of us. And Sergeant's like, charge that machine gun nest. And I charge it. And I got cut down. Second guy, charge that machine gun nest. Charges it, gets cut down. Third guy, charges it, gets cut down. Now the fourth guy, he could DFQ that one and charge it like everyone else, because I'm not a quitter. Or maybe, just maybe, we're doing it the wrong way. If you're so focused on never fucking quitting, dude, when we get out, we fuck up so many things because we're so don't quit focused that we don't realize that we're doing it the stupid way. And if you reassess and try and figure out a better way and then do it that way, is that quitting? No. And that's one thing I realized being out is how many things I did just to do it the hard way, almost for the hard way's sake. Because I'm not a pussy. I'll fucking do it the hard way. Fuck you. Watch this. And then over time, it's like, there's probably a better way to do this. And I think that's a big lesson I learned is by and large, there's always a smarter way.
I would definitely agree with that.
As I'm older and out longer, the more I realize that true skill is in figuring out the most efficient and easiest way to accomplish anything. Don't quit, it's almost an indoctrination point, you know? Like if you think what the military used to be, which is a bunch of fucking morons online marching on an open field to face each other and shoot each other without moving, like, you know, don't fucking quit. Like, hold the line. It's the same mentality.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll finish up your Iraq deployment.
All right.
Next on the Shawn Ryan Show.
This is one of the most dangerous things I've ever done. So, everyone else was in Baghdad. We were in Fallujah. You know, and this was flayed out that way, and this was flayed out that way. I mean, it was broken in like 8 places. And it was before, because the medic was treating the guys that were shot on the front side. And when he finally before he got to me, it occurred to me that I might die.
Do you keep in touch with these guys that you were on that op with?
There's probably a reason I haven't asked you to do this podcast. There's probably a reason that I don't keep in contact really with any of them. You know, it's a place where no one's from. Most people move there from somewhere else, do their thing, and then leave. You know, it's a very transient city for people that are kind of unsure maybe of their direction. And I think that was me.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.